Welcome back, warriors.
Yay.
We are exhausted.
You can hear it in Margot's voice. She sure is exhausted.
I'm so tired right now. I mean, I am kind of tired. It's Halloween. It's Halloween week here for me. I'm teaching lots of Halloween kids yoga classes. Kids yoga classes, which I love. I do love teaching themed classes. It is really fun, but I am wearing a lot of costumes. I'm distributing lots of candy. I'm also eating lots of candy, which is really bad because I'm like, having those jolts of sugary excitedness. And then it's like, I'm crashing an hour later.
That's when you're supposed to eat more candy.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm doing it wrong.
You're
Damn. All right. Well, I still have the rest of the week to make up for it.
Yeah. So. I'll send you some candy too, just in case.
Please don't mail me any candy.
I'll keep it for me.
Yeah, exactly. You just eat that candy. You send me pictures of you eating the candy and I'll be happy.
Okay.
All right. So if you haven't guessed, warriors, which I'm sure you haven't because this has been a tangent, we are talking about feeling tired.
Yes. Chronic exhaustion. Always tired. How to function in a world where there's always kind of like a veil between your mind and eyes and the rest of the world. And it's tiring being tired.
Yes. So well said. It is. It really is. And we had done our sleep anxiety episode quite a while ago, actually. I don't have the number. I'm usually good about the number off the top of my head. I don't have the number, but we had a whole sleep anxiety and anxiety around getting enough sleep kind of conversation and sleep issues and all that stuff. And so we thought that we would do kind of like a part 2.
Yeah.
But more just focus on the fact that we're always tired, especially lately. I haven't felt this tired this consistently in a while.
Same. And I wonder, for me at least, how much the pandemic has also impacted my like chronic fatigue, because it took away all of my routines.
Yes.
It really, my relationship to exercise has changed. My just mental health has changed, so I just wonder how much, especially the last few years, I don't think it's just from turning 40.
That's it. The day after you were like, I'm exhausted.
Wow, you're 40 and it's time to sleep all day. But so I wonder, I mean, I've always been tired. Like we talked about that in the previous sleep episode, like I'm always tired, but I agree with you. In recent years, it just feels like different tired.
Yeah. So like, what do you think is different about it? I mean, I know that's like hard to pinpoint, right? It's like, why is the tired that we're feeling right now different from our previous bouts of tiredness?
Yeah.
Like either pre-pandemic or just even like through the pandemic. Like I said, for me, it's like these last few months have felt extra exhausting. And so that doesn't encompass the entirety of the pandemic.
Right.
I didn't feel this level of exhaustion in the beginning of the pandemic, but I don't know. I'm struggling to come up with anything concrete, right?
Yeah.
Like pinpoint a reason. I feel like it's just that everything feels heavy lately.
Yes. Yeah. Right? I mean, maybe that's part of it is like everything in the world, climate change, just being on social media, like all of that can be adding to like chronic stress and chronic, fatigue. And maybe our body is like trying to like dissociate, like it's like, no, this is enough. Let's just shut it down now.
Shut that shit down.
But then it's bad because then sometimes I'm just too tired to do anything except for scroll on my phone, which just makes me more tired anyway. So then it's like this horrible cycle where I'm exhausted by the world, right? And everything around it. And then all I'm doing is scrolling to get more of that crap because I'm too tired to like do anything.
Yeah. So like where the anxiety comes in, I think for me is like, why am I tired? So it's like thinking about why might I be tired, right? But having the fear of like, well, I don't want to go to the doctor and find out if something's wrong with me, like truly wrong. Like there's obviously lots of medical concerns that maybe would go hand in hand with
But it's going to take so much time. It's not like you go to the doctor once and they're like, oh, you have this.
They
right?
send you to a million specialists,
yes.
right? It'll take, and I have enough anxiety. I don't need the potential looming of, God knows what to be contributing to that. But then the other part of my brain's like, well, maybe it's worth finding out. And then maybe your anxiety will be alleviated if you know something specific that then can be tackled with.
But what if you never get a diagnosis? Like that's the other part.
That's what happened with you, right? It was like you never got anything concrete. And that's exactly where my brain goes. Yeah.
I mean, there's finally studies now about chronic fatigue and ADHD, right? I mean, they started like doing studies. I'm going to make up a date, 2013, right? But like they started doing studies in like the, last decade. And when I did my sleep study, it was before that. But so maybe they would be like, oh, it's because you have ADHD. And then you'd be like, yippee. Okay.
Now what?
Now what? Right. And I don't think they have answers for the now what, except for like go on some very specific medication.
Yeah.
Not always ADHD, but ADHD meds. Like sometimes it's other shit.
Right. The other part where the anxiety comes in is just like with how much stuff I know I need to get done in my day or my week, but I feel like I'm unable to do it because I'm tired or I need an extra 10 minutes, in bed in the morning, or I need a nap in the afternoon, or like you said, I need to just fully dissociate from the weightiness of every fucking thing, the world, the expectations, the responsibilities, the tasks.
And then how exhausting is it to think about all the things you have to do? Right? Like that adds to the exhaustion.
Exactly. Oh God. It feels impossible.
Yeah.
Right. And so, I mean, do you like have a separate definition for fatigue? Like, I'm sure if we Googled like on WebMD or something, like, it'd be like, here's how you define tiredness versus fatigue. Like, or do you define them the same?
It's kind of both, right? So sometimes I might feel tired and I feel fatigue. I can't explain what I'm saying. I just know this is how I feel.
Okay.
And sometimes I'll wake up feeling tired, but then during my day, I feel more fatigued.
Right.
Right. But like, I feel like when I feel fatigued, I can't always nap. But when I feel tired, I can nap.
Okay.
So I'm kind of putting fatigue with like brain fog and heaviness and body feeling like just heavy and tired.
Yes.
And I'm putting tired more with like maybe not enough sleep or, like I just feel like there is a little difference there, but then they can also hang out together and like,
be besties.
Yeah. Totally. And there's 100%. Like times where nothing works. I'll drink coffee. I'll drink a lot of coffee. Nothing. Right?
Your body's basically like, bitch, I'm trying to tell you that coffee's not the answer.
Yeah. Lay on the floor and scroll on your phone so you can feel more tired, please. Like it's like, and then there's also times where like I'll have like extremely like stressful sleep, right? Like my dog is getting a surgery. So in the last couple of weeks, I've been really stressed out for this upcoming surgery. And I'll have stressful dreams about the surgery and everything, but I'll wake up and I won't feel tired or fatigued until like 3:00. And nothing changes. I'm not like, oh, I'm going to jog and that's going to change my day. It's like the morning routine is still the same. Right. And so I can't even connect the fatigue to how much sleep I get or what kind of sleep I get, because sometimes I can have like 10 hours sleep and it's well rested and I still feel fatigue.
Yeah.
No, go ahead. The one thing I can connect it to is my cycle. Right around my period, I call it the drunken sleep. And it's literally feels like narcolepsy. Like sometimes I'll be like sitting on a couch and I'll like kind of like
just conk out.
And to wake up, like I'll kind of be a teeny bit awake while I'm sleeping. I can't really explain it. But the amount of effort it would take to make myself wake up is too much. So I'll just like sleep on the couch. Right. And it's like, I'm not even tired so much is extremely fatigued around my period. I can't even explain it. I just call it drunken sleep because I remember like being drunk in my 20s and how hard it was to wake up.
Right. Just like literally just like a bag of flesh and bones, just like unable to pick itself up.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. I feel all of that. I feel all of that. And what I feel like I heard you kind of saying too, which correct me if I'm wrong. It's like when you wake up after all those stress dreams or whatever, it's like your mind is alert and awake because those dreams are so vivid and real. And it's like, okay, your alarm goes off or whatever. You wake up to, start your day. And then eventually your body catches up with the fact that your sleep was fucked up. Right. And that's when the fatigue shows up, like you said, mid-afternoon, which I think is a common time for a lot of folks to feel that fatigue. Right. And then whether folks out there are warriors, like if you're drinking coffee or you're doing those kind of external things to jolt yourself awake to like get shit done, go about your life. And then eventually, right. Unless you're able to keep up certain level of energy, at some point you're going to fully crash.
Right.
Like it's inevitable. So unless you are maybe going for walks or something in the middle of your day, like over a lunch break, or which I know is really helpful for me. So like, I'm not able to do it every day. It depends on my schedule, which changes every day. But if I am able to be home in the middle of the day and like take Hurley for a walk in the middle of the day, I do wind up feeling like I've rejuvenated for at least a few hours in my early afternoon. I don't have that opportunity because again, my work schedule doesn't allow for it or whatever.
Right.
Then I feel like, for example, if I'm say in between two schools or sites for work, and I can't go home, I'm just like, say, parked in my car, eating my lunch, checking social media, doing some emails or whatever, or just even like reclining. And that I'm like more tired almost. Cause it's like, I've had this pause and it was active, stimulating for my mind, but not my body. And so then I wind up feeling like that's when I'm the most drained. And that's when, if I have to go to like my second site, I'm definitely like having to pump myself up, get my energy back for class or classes, or I am just exhausted during class.
Right.
And then I'm irritable. Right. It's like, that's not good, obviously. And so
it's really annoying when that also changes how you feel. Wait, I have a question. So do you think when you're sitting in your car and you're like, your body is settling, right? Do you think your like body is kind of catching up with what you just did and it's telling you it's tired? Or do you think like, I don't know, like I guess that's my thought is like, why, like, cause everyone gets that not everyone, but a lot of people get that afternoon slump. Right. And is it that the constant movement and like stress, but I'm saying stress in a lighter way of the day keeps us more alert, or, and so that part helps in not recognizing that we are tired, like, does the walk, aside from like, pumping oxygen through your body, processing out stress, like aside from that, like, does the walk kind of trick your body into forgetting it's tired? You know what I'm saying? Do you understand my question?
I do. Yeah, I totally do. I think so. I actually think so. I think it's such a mind shift for me personally, right? To be able to, walking just feels like, obviously it can be a mindful practice, but it could also be a very rote practice, right? If you're a person that has the ability to walk, and enjoys it, like I do, whatever. Even without Hurley, I like walking. Walking feels good. It feels supportive. It's always been a tool just with anxiety, with a lot of things. And so I do think it's a little bit of the placebo, like you're saying. It's like my mind saying like, you're going to be better after this walk. And there are the physical, reasons why that is true, right? Why walking is, like you mentioned some of them, right? By doing that walk can be powerful, but I also think it's the time of day. It's like, I'm telling my body that, okay, that type of activity was done. Then you just sat down and ate lunch.
Right.
And now it's time for you to like find your energy again, because I don't know about you, but after I eat lunch, no matter what the size, I'm ready. I could just fucking like lay back and be like,
nap
okay,
time.
nap time.
Yes. I've done that in my car.
Yeah, me too.
naps
But
after
that's bad
lunch.
for me. That winds up being really bad for me. I
Right.
don't, I can't and shouldn't. And I haven't, thankfully, in over a couple of years now,
Yeah.
um, slept in my car in between
Yeah.
jobs. But
Yeah.
I used to do that. I used to be, and
Mm-hmm.
I would always then either have to find ways to ramp up before work
Mm-hmm.
again, or I would be not great. Right.
Right.
I'd just go in and be tired still and irritable. And my body's just like, why the fuck are we doing this? Let's go home.
Yeah.
Even though my
Yeah.
mind's like trying to teach yoga to kids. Right.
Right.
Um,
So how
but
does
yeah.
it when you're feeling tired? Because you've mentioned this a couple times, how like it impacts your behavior. So what
Mhm.
are some of the ways that it does really impact your behavior when you have to be around people and you can't just be home and taking a nap, but you're tired?
I mean, it's like what I said. I'm either irritable,
Mhm.
or at least on the inside, I'm irritable.
Yeah.
I'm more reactive to
Yeah.
stuff. Again, even if it's just in my mind and my thoughts,
Mhm.
I'm definitely more lethargic. I'm just moving slower. I'm not as,
Yes.
my body's just kind of like, let's change the lesson plan up a little bit and see if the kids are down to do X instead of Y.
More child's pose.
Right.
Yeah.
Actually, we're going to do 5 breaths in child's pose, kids, not one.
Yeah.
Which, depending on their age, some of them are really down for that. Right. And so,
Mhm.
I do find that sometimes I talk to them about it too. I'm like, "Ooh,
Mhm.
I just did this thing and it made me really tired. And so
Yeah.
here's some of the things I like to do that have to do with yoga and mindfulness that pump me back up for stuff in my life.
Yeah.
Um, but those are the big things. Yeah. So, I mean, like, do you relate to any of this shiitake?
Everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. No, it definitely, I mean, I it's like this like I don't know why I wanted to say double-edged sword because I don't think it is, but it's like this thing where like I don't feel like my best self when I'm tired
Mhm.
and fatigued. But I also feel tired and fatigued so often. It's like, who is my best self? You know?
Right.
And I can totally relate to like just like not wanting to move as much, after that afternoon slump. And it just takes so
Mhm.
much more like mental motivation and mental energy to like push through that barrier of fatigue to try to be like as present, as engaging as whatever it is as a teacher in the afternoon as it is in the morning, like it is in the morning. So yeah, I totally relate to all that.
Let me ask you this. So, when do you think, like you said, best self, and then my brain had like this thought. It's like, when do you think is your best time of the day? Even when you wake up exhausted or whatever, like, is there a pattern for you when like you feel like I'm typically at my best at X time of the day, or is it always fluctuating and changing?
um I would say both again. I would say it's always fluctuating and changing, but I tend to have my most energetic, boost probably from like 9 a.m. to like 1 p.m., which is why I always try to schedule things around that time, you know?
Same. Yeah.
Yeah. I could even push it to 2 p.m. And then after that, it's like, I need to recalibrate, I need to figure out what's going on. And of course, like if I need to push through, I push through. Like I used to do improv in the evenings, right? And there would be that like it would start at think at like 6 or 7, and there would be that like around 4 or 5 where I'd be like, oh, I don't want to go. I'm so tired. I don't want
Yeah.
to drive 40 minutes, like all of that. But once I got there, like I would have a boost of energy.
Hmm.
Right. So sometimes people help. And then also
Right.
sometimes it's so overstimulating, people don't help.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
that's a really good point. It's like, my second question then is just like, did you ever get to improv and really wish that you didn't go? Or just like anything at that time of the day?
No, I never. Well, I can't remember. I haven't done things in a long time
Right.
outside the house. But I can't remember ever going to improv and being like, "Oh, I'm so tired. I wish I didn't go." I can remember going to improv and just vocalizing, "Hey, I'm tired. I might not be as jumping in and stuff." Right?
So telling
Um,
them,
yeah.
does that feel supportive? Like, do you feel like they like were like, okay, cool, like that, thank you for that
Yeah.
information?
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
yeah, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. But I would still like be, happy going. And I mean, you know, humans all feed off of each other's energy, right? So
Mhm.
sometimes it was a better experience because when I was tired and then I would go, like it would like take me out of the fatigue.
Interesting. How
Yeah.
would the ride home be after improv? Are you like then just like freaking deflated from all the extra
No,
energy,
no, I'm
or are
like
you like,
jazzed up.
oh, you have the energy
Yeah.
still? For me, it's always a mixed bag. Like whenever I get that second or third wind late in the
Mm-hmm.
day, I'm
Mm-hmm.
either on the way home, like I come down and I come down really fast and I'm like, oh my God, that was so great. But now I'm like, I'm ready for bed the second,
Yeah.
or I'm still in like that energy mode for a while longer. So
Yeah.
it's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely like depends, but with improv, it usually was so super fun that I was like excited and I'd be going over scenes in my head, thinking about how it could have been better or different, or there was some challenging people I had to do improv with. So it was like, okay, if they do this thing next time, what do I want to plan in regards to how to respond to that, and so like
Right.
there was a lot, but I was excited about it all. So it was, it boosted my energy.
Right. Cause it was like you were in a joyful place with
Yeah.
mostly, great people and doing something that lights you up.
Yeah. So I have a question. So have you ever had it where like you've said you're tired, right? Maybe like someone's like, "Hey, how are you?" And you're like, I'm fine. I'm feeling tired." And they're like, "Well, if you keep saying that, you're just going to feel more tired."
Not that response specifically, but yeah, I mean, I've obviously received platitudes from people just like, oh, well, or it's not even it's just like, here's a suggestion, right?
Yeah.
It's like immediate suggestions.
Yeah.
Oh, you're tired? Well, why don't you go do this? Or, oh, you're tired. Well, why don't we go ahead and, you should probably try this. Right. And
Yeah.
so it's like the fixers and the helpers to
Uh-huh.
win. And then usually I'm like, cool, I'm going to walk away now. Like,
Yeah.
usually, unless I say to someone, I'm really tired, I need to get through the next 2 hours. Like, what do you got for me? Right.
Right.
If I do that, then obviously I'm asking for feedback or like something physical, like you have a Snickers
Right.
bar, like you got something for me, like this second I need something, right? Like a jolt, whatever. Um, so yeah, I mean, all the time. And that certainly doesn't make me feel less tired.
No.
If anything, it
No.
just makes me more irritable. And then I have guilt for
Yep.
being tired, and expressing it makes, you know what I mean?
Yes.
I shouldn't have expressed it. And so it's
Right.
stifling. So yeah, I mean, what
There
about
is.
you?
There's like shame in like people will shame others when they say they're tired. Like, "Oh, it's just a mindset. You should say you're
Mm-hmm.
more energetic more often and you'll feel that way." And I've definitely heard that a number of times. And then it
Yeah.
made me feel bad when I was like, "I'm energetic," right? And I tried it and I tried it and it didn't work. And so I mean, definitely like when you were just saying that piece about how people want to fix it, it was like this clicking. It's like, oh yeah, for some reason there's something like wrong with being tired,
Mm-hmm.
right? Just like there's something wrong with people grieving or being sad or wanting their space or alone time, right? There's like all those things that's like, oh, we have to fix it. And that's also with being tired. Like our society is exhausting, and yet we have to hide how tired we all are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm glad that you brought up the shame, because I feel like I grew up napping. I grew up loving naps and taking
Yeah.
naps all the time. But then somewhere in my like 30s, I
Mm-hmm.
started to feel guilt and shame around taking naps during certain days of the week or certain
Mm-hmm.
times of the day.
Yeah.
Or like the wondering of like, wow, I've only been up for X amount of hours. I haven't really done that much. Like in
Right.
terms of like, well, again, thinking about the patriarchal,
Mm-hmm.
construct of our society, I haven't quote done enough, right, to deserve a nap. And then it's about like, do I deserve this nap? Have
Right.
I done enough with my day or my morning so far to earn the right to take a
Yes.
pause and rest, right? Even if it's for 10 minutes, like,
Right. The right
and
to listen to my own body and meet its
exactly.
needs, because society says that I haven't produced enough today. I
Mm-hmm.
probably should vacuum my whole house first so I feel productive enough so I can take a nap.
Exactly. It's such bullshit. Like, and I think all the time about like Adam is so the opposite of, and some of my guilt has to do with he's never put any guilt or shame on me, literally ever.
Yeah.
But like, there's something about like, if I've been home, right? Cause my work schedule is different. And like, it's happened before. I'm like, I don't want to be caught sleeping when he gets
I feel
home.
the same way. I feel the exact same way.
I'm
even
like,
though Dan doesn't care.
He doesn't care.
No.
And he's just, and he'll even tell me like, when it's a day off for both of us or whatever. And I'll be like, I'm a little, why don't you take a nap? He's always just like, why aren't you just taking the nap?
Right.
I'm like, oh, right. I can do that. And I shouldn't have any shame or guilt about it either. Like,
yeah,
fine.
But still, they're like, I so relate to that. Like, Dan does not give a shit, right? He doesn't care. Yeah. You're tired, take a nap, listen to your body. And I'm like, no, I should make us lunch. I should show that I can contribute to our household before I take that nap. It's so crazy how ingrained that is in both of us, right? Yeah.
It's crazy, but is it? Like, this is part of our conditioning bucket, right? From infancy, basically,
right?
As products of the 80s and 90s. I mean, this is, I'm sure, and older generations, it's the same. And I'm sure it's the same for younger generations too, right? That we're still live in this type of world. It's not like, I mean, there's more hope, I think, for future generations to break this cycle of guilt and shame about ridiculous things like rest, and, how rest is productive and actually helps us to be more productive after we've rest and given our bodies and minds the break that it deserves and needs. But anyway, that's a kind of separate conversation, which we've always kind of sprinkled through a lot of our conversations. But all right, so let's think about support as we start to like wrap this convo up. It's like, what are some of the ways that do support you when you're feeling exhausted or tired, either physically or mentally?
I mean, one thing is just giving voice to it rather than constantly trying to push it away. Right? Because when I try to push it away, I'm still like laying on the floor, right? But I'm stuck in like the scrolling place, as opposed to like, I'm really tired. It's okay to take a nap, or asking Dan, hey, I am exhausted. Can you be in charge of dinner? I don't care if you cook. I don't care if we, get takeout. I don't care. Just make the decision. Right.
Yeah.
So a lot of like the support for me is just asking for help, which is hard, and just stating that I'm tired, but it doesn't mean I'm a lazy piece of shit. Right. Because again, like we talked a little bit about this in our first sleep episode, but again, it's like, if I'm tired every day, right, like it doesn't mean I'm lazy. And actually something that's just been really supportive in this last year is just learning more and more about ADHD and chronic fatigue. Right. Because again, it just takes a little bit of the shame and the guilt away from it. And it allows me to feel more like I can speak up about it. And then, things like, supportive things like, okay, maybe I just need to go for a walk. Right. As long as it's nice out. If there's snow out and it's cold, no, thank you. Maybe I need to do some stretching. Right. Maybe I just need to cuddle with my dog. So there's like, it varies, but ultimately it's the practice for me of accepting it. And that's hard. And then like speaking up about it, like, Dan, I need support, or don't judge me, I'm going to take a nap. And he's like, of course I'm not going to judge you. Right. But like that's been what's really been supportive for me.
I like it.
Thanks.
I like it.
You?
Yeah, I mean, it's some of that. It's like the voicing it. I'm tired. I do like to try. Sometimes it's supportive and sometimes it isn't. So let's just be real there before I say. I like to try and pinpoint some of the reasons why I might be tired or fatigued, even if I'm wrong or making it up. Right. Like I'm like, okay, you know what? I didn't get as many hours last night as I'm used to. You know what? I spent a little bit too much time before bed on my phone. Right. Like, and so like saying those things that aren't really these aren't things I'm proud of, but saying them out loud gives, helps me like to give that voice some reasoning. Right. Like, okay, it's like validating. These are some of the reasons why you may be tired and fatigued.
Right.
And I feel guilt about those things and it doesn't really help and serve. I'll be honest, but sometimes it does really help. And I'm like, okay, that was abnormal. That was sort of a one-off. It's not normally like that. What can I do better tonight to try to set myself up. Right. And if it's about napping, it's like, okay, how much of a nap do I think I need right now? Could I make it for the rest of the day if I only do 20 minutes? Because I feel like if I do more than 20 minutes, I'm going to be screwed. Right. And so like, setting those boundaries and parameters around my rest too is sometimes really supportive. Yeah. I mean, it's like you said, asking for help. Like, I'm not good at that either. I'm really bad at it. Yeah, or sometimes I will say, I love you, babe. I know you're listening. The way that I ask for help isn't always super great.
Yeah. There has to be a little mind reading in there.
Sometimes I'm like, why isn't this done? Or how come I'm the only one that does this? Like, it'd be great if you paid attention to the fact that this needed to get done.
Right.
And it's like, that didn't come out great. That's not the best, But then when I'm in a better headspace and I'm less exhausted by it, I'm just kind of like, hey, sorry, I blew up. But, maybe we can have a conversation about sharing this responsibility or, whatever. And look, there's plenty of things that Adam does that I have no idea when it's getting done or why it's getting done. And I'm just kind of like, that's done for me. Right. And it's the same as you. But then there are some activities, even after all these years of marriage and being together, that like, if there wasn't a conversation that was had about it,
right,
it kind of just like either became his responsibility or mine just organically.
Yeah.
But then sometimes those activities feel like, I'm fucking done with this right now. Or I don't want to be responsible for this right now. And instead of being like, hey, can you just take this on for me? And sometimes I do, and I say it right. And I'm really proud of that. And then, but let's just be real. Other times when I'm really tired, things come out wrong. Right. And let's just,
it's harder. It's harder to self-regulate when we're tired. It really is. Yeah. I like the part that you said you try to figure out what could be causing it. It made me think of like when we have big emotions and we name it to tame it. I feel like, and this is like obviously my experience that I'm saying it through, like my lens. It's like, if I can figure out why I'm tired, then I can stop the narrative of what's wrong with me. Why am I always tired? Because it's like, oh, I was scrolling too late, or oh, I didn't have a great night's sleep, or I'm very stressed. This is probably impacting how I feel, right? So like the naming it can kind of, the way I'm hearing it is like tame the narrative of like, why am I always tired? This is so tiring.
Yeah. Or like, you're a lazy piece of shit, like you said.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah, totally. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
All right, warriors. Well, we hope that any of this resonates, even some small parts of it. We're sure that it does, actually. If you're here listening to this episode, we know that you're probably nodding and laughing along, or, just resonating with all or at least some of what we've shared. So take some time today, this week, to think about your relationship to feeling tired. What comes up for you when you think about either being mentally or physically exhausted? How does fatigue and tiredness feel different to you? Do they feel the same? And how does being tired impact how you feel more broadly? Does it have an impact on your mental health or your overall well-being? And if you don't have some strategies surrounding thinking about your tiredness and the fact that you're fatigued maybe a lot, maybe you can start to come up with some. Maybe you adopt some of the stuff that we just talked about in the end part of our conversation, or maybe you think about it for yourself. What kinds of strategies might help you feel okay with, or feel like, hey, this is something I need to explore more. Maybe you do want to go talk to a sleep doctor if you haven't yet. And if you feel like, your life is severely impacted by this, you may want to spend some time doing extra research, like Abby talked about, surrounding some other things that you might be dealing with, like ADHD or, anything else, depression, any of that. Or you may just want to do it on your own. Do it on your own, talk to a doctor, whatever feels right for you. And all right. So Abby, do you have a win of the week?
It's very small.
Woo, I love tiny wins.
Tiny wins. It's a tiny win. So one of the last wins that I spoke about, I said how Dan's friend got me into a school to be teaching kids yoga. And I recently had the first day. And I walk in, and the room that I'm assigned to is way too small for yoga mats. I had 13 kids signed up. I'm glad I capped it there. And because more people wanted to sign up. And I was like, nope, like I need to see this school first. And I told them I had 13 kids, tiny, tiny room. So we had to sit in a circle with chairs. And a lot of the kids' feet don't touch the ground. So that is a problem when you're teaching chair yoga to kids, when their feet don't touch the ground. So I had to repeat myself multiple times. Don't unroll your yoga mat. Come find a chair. We're going to try to find a bigger room next week. Right. Like many times. And then we're sitting there. I'm starting to give a little bit of what to expect in this class. And the power in the entire school goes out. So the kids are anxious, excited, nervous. They don't like this. This is my first time meeting all these children and my first time in this school, right? I have like 5-year-olds to like, I don't know, 10-year-olds in this space, right? And so it's like, okay, so I saw some adults right in the hallway and they gave me like this fake lantern thing that I could use for our room. So we had like the teeny, like a camping lantern, right? And I'm like, okay, let's practice like taking a couple breaths and see if we can name how we feel, right? Very adapting, and then all of a sudden the speakers come on and it's a fire drill and they're telling us to go outside way across the field in 40-degree windy weather. And finally,
where's the win?
Yeah, here we go.
Okay.
Finally, when we get back to class, there was about 8 minutes left that included like putting the room back together. We had a quick little connection with each other and then all the kids went off and I drove home and it was chaos. And the win is I didn't beat myself up.
Yay.
It was
out of your control.
A really hard situation. There was so many, like all kids were safe. I didn't lose any children. I didn't even know all their names, right? We didn't even really get to finish a name game, right? I mean, it was chaos. It was. The kids are all talking over each other. No one's really listening to me, right? And I was really able to give myself some compassion for the situation. And hopefully it is less chaotic next time.
I mean, anything has to be less chaotic. That's a lot of shit to happen on a first day in a new site. Kids that are in a broad age range all by yourself. Like that's a lot. So there's only, I think there's only going to be time to go up. You're at the bottom and we're headed up.
We'll see.
Up this week.
We'll see. We'll see.
Well, that's a big win though. Cause listen, I'm with you on like it's like you're trying to do the job and you want to, you want to make an impact, right? That's why we do the job. And the impact isn't let's have a blackout and go on a fire drill for 40 minutes. Like, no, thank you. And so being able to not to give yourself the grace that you deserve in that moment is huge.
Thank you. Yeah, it was challenging, but yeah, I'm hopeful for next week.
That's more than a tiny win for you.
Thanks.
I think so. Thanks. Knowing you, I feel like that's a bigger win than you think it is.
I could have been overthinking a lot. So yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Awesome. All right, warriors. Well, thank you so much for tuning in this week. We love you so much. If you'd like to connect with us for any reason, join our Instagram fam. We're at Anxiety Warriors Podcast over on IG. Come hang out with us over there. Or you can email us at anxietywarriorspodcast@gmail.com. You can shout out your wins of the week, send us topic ideas, or if you think you're an awesome anxiety warrior and you'd love to be a guest on our show, let us know. Let's hear from you and get your story on the calendar so we can help you share it. Please take 2 seconds and smash that 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you're listening to this podcast right now. And also leave a review. Please rate and review. Your words mean so much to us, especially if they're words of love and encouragement and kindness, which we hope that they are.
Yes.
And finally, head over into our show notes and jump over to our Threadless shop where we are selling some kick-ass Anxiety Warriors Podcast merch, perfect for the holiday season, for the warriors in your life and or for yourself, because maybe that could be your win of the week.
Yes.
Getting yourself something fun.
That's a good win.
Right?
Yeah.
That'd be a win. I like new stuff. It always feels like a win.
Yeah. If I like
retail therapy.
Yeah.
Right.
Retail therapy. Yeah.
Totes. All right, warriors. Thank you. We love you.
Yes, thank you all so much for going on this journey with us. We are so grateful we get to do this with you every single week.
Till next time.